Welcome back to yet another exciting episode of RNG Radio.
Nah.
No, just
Look at this guy. This guy put out 2 episodes in 1 week.
Keep that intro in. Keep that intro. I was joking.
This guy is gonna come on the podcast. He's gonna say, "I don't really have anything to talk about." Yet he just put out 2 hour-long episodes of a solo podcast.
See, the benefit of being my friend is that I have a lot of things to talk about. I can tap into numerous subjects. It just depends where we're going into, what the depths of the subjects we're tackling are. You know what I mean? I could dive deep. I could dive deep.
Naturally. I do know. I'm not a Raj Radio listener though, so I am completely in the dark.
That was so funny. I remember when I made the first episode and I sent it to you, you were like, "Nah, dude, you're gonna have to show another one of your friends because I can't listen to your voice right now."
I gotta edit the podcast already. I hear your voice enough. I don't need to listen to 50 minutes of you talking to yourself.
It is different, honestly.
What do you mean it's different?
It's different because, like, in your case, you're like a content creator that has to work with my fucking voice. So I understand. Like, there's like a burnout period when it comes to my voice. You don't want to hear it that much. I totally get that. That's relatable.
Relatable.
There's a lot of voices of people in my life that I feel like I hear too much that I need to I gotta tone it down a little bit. You know what I mean? I gotta just get them the fuck out of here, dude.
So,
yeah,
I don't want to recap too much that's already been said on the podcast, the other podcast now on the channel. But I do need an update because it sounds like you got a job. I've read the descriptions of the videos. That's as much research as I've done.
That's good. I'm glad you at least read that. You know what I mean? That's good. Yeah, I got a job. Okay, so I was talking about this in the podcast and on both podcasts. I mentioned this. I got the job after No Life in WoW for 6 months. A guy from the guild gave me the position. And it's a really cool job. Yeah, so like I'm going to be a house inspector, which I never saw myself doing. But the caveat, the reason why I went for this job over anything else is the pay it's not bad. It's pretty good pay, and it's like commission-based pay, so there's like a potential to earn a lot of fucking money if I'm like good at selling it. And I mean, home improvement stuff is pretty easy to sell because people don't have knowledge about this shit. Like, they just believe whoever the fuck comes in and tells them. So, I mean, yeah. But anyways, the point is that this job is really dope because I technically only have to work 1 day of the week. And assuming that I get everything done in that one day, which it should happen, then the rest of the week is remote. So I don't have to go anywhere and I get paid for the week anyways. And so this will give me a lot of...
though. It's not...
Well, yeah, it's remote as in like the only work I'm really doing at home is taking meetings every now and then and doing paperwork, which it doesn't really take up too many hours of the day considering I have like the whole fucking day.
Have you started?
I'm starting in 2 weeks.
So you don't know how much time it takes.
Well, I'm only going off of what my boy told me when he hired me for the position. So he had the same job when he first got out of college, and he was looking for a position, right? So the same job I'm doing, he was doing back then, and he was telling me like, yeah, dude, it's like a really good way to earn money if you have the personality, you can sell shit to people. But also, he was just telling me like it's really good if you want to have time to work on other shit because it's not like the most demanding job in the world. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You're mainly just going to be like, you're the intermediary between the salesperson and the client, so you're not doing too much. Aside from inspecting.
Okay. And aside from inspecting,
it's
whatever that means.
That's my favorite part of the job, the house inspection portion. So the way it works, bro, is like, imagine me coming to your house, right?
Yeah.
And then like you and Kate are showing me around the house, and I'm like, no. Hey, you see that pillar right there? You see that pillar? That's got some rot in it. You see the rot? I see the rot. Let me here's a flashlight. This is the rot. You got to get that shit fixed, or the house is gonna come down. Listen, don't you have
to have some sort of don't you have to have some sort of certification to do that kind of thing?
Apparently you don't. So it's really just training. It's informal training of not informal. It's formal training of just. So the first 2 weeks that I'm gonna be there, it'll be like 40-hour weeks. And it'll basically just be me learning the ins and outs of the position. And it's mainly just learning what the different parts of a house are. And that's my and this is gonna sound really fucking lame to a lot of people, but like I really like that part where you learn the parts of a house.
Okay.
Because I'm one of those people that I feel like if in the future when I own my own property, I have a family settled down, I want to know like what the parts of my fucking house are that are like going awry. I want to know if like there's wood rot, and I keep saying wood rot. That's the only word I remember from him telling me about the fucking job. But I want to know, like, I want to know how the gutters, if how to diagnose that shit on my own. Right. I want to know
if the foundation is stable.
Shingles, foundation. Like, I need to know these things because I don't want my house to get fucked. And plus, I don't want to hire a guy in the future to come fix my shit, but he's like overcharging because I have a lack of information on what he's trying to sell me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this could, it's a good learning opportunity. And it should be fun. Yeah.
It'll be a good experience overall.
Yeah.
I also have been, on the job hunt, and I had an interview yesterday.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Which I completely beefed.
Okay.
But
you beefed it? What does it mean you
beefed it, dude? Like, it wasn't good.
Oh, that's what you mean by beefed it.
Yeah,
usually when people say they beefed it, like, I imagine you, like, talk yourself, like, you beefed yourself up. Like,
nah.
That makes sense. All right.
Yeah, I didn't do too well. I'm not going to get into it a whole lot, but let's just say it didn't go well. So I have another interview today.
Okay.
And I'll give you the update on that. But the interview I had yesterday, said they'd let me know next week if I got the job. So I'll have an update for you.
Dude, I would pay money to sit and watch you give an interview to someone. I feel like I've never heard you like in a formal interview setting. I just want to hear like what your answers are to like all the ridiculously dumb fucking questions every employer fucking asks.
Well, I thought I did really well like in the conversation aspect, but then they busted out like a computer and they gave me like a little test and I blew it.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes. That's like they're like testing
right.
motherfuckers. Like they're not just trying to hire anybody.
They're paying like $14 an hour. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, that's
like,
come on now. Yeah. That's a little crazy.
But we'll see. I'm not confident about it.
No, you'll be fine. I feel like you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I feel like a big thing with Utah is that there's not a lot of tech people there from what I understand.
There's a lot of tech people there.
Is there really?
Well, we got a little scene growing right now.
A little scene growing.
Yeah, a little scene, little tech scene.
A little TFT competitive scene.
It's not the fucking Bay Area or anything, obviously. But I mean, it's got a little tech hub.
Yeah, no, you guys aren't the tech capital of the world. You know what I'm saying? You guys aren't the tech fucking capital of the entire fucking universe at this point. I mean, we got fucking everybody. But that's good, though. I'm glad that you're applying.
Yeah.
And I hope you get a fucking job, dude.
Hey, me
too. I hope
you
pull this shit off.
That'd be good.
Because God knows fucking podcasting isn't paying the bills.
True. True.
Oh,
Speaking of which, go check out our merch shop. Not really.
Merch shop?
Nah, not yet.
I was gonna say, how do we even afford it? We can't afford that. For them to go purchase, there's upkeep.
That's the dream, dude. The dream for me is to
RNG merch.
Is to log into Twitter one day and somebody tags me and they're wearing a piece of RNG merch. That's the dream. That's all I want out of life.
That's a good dream. That's a really good dream. It'll happen one day, man. It'll happen one day.
You think that's a really good dream?
It's a really good dream because it's achievable in this lifetime. Maybe we have to. There's a maybe to that. Though. It's a little difficult. It's a little difficult to achieve, but we'll get there.
It is, yeah. So we'll see. It's up to you guys. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, you just got to stay consistent with this shit. That's all it is.
We are the most consistent we've ever been.
Yeah, I like that.
Every Friday, every Friday at the same time.
Pretty much, dude.
Consistent.
Dude, I have a topic to talk about today.
Great.
I don't know if you had a topic, though.
I don't.
Good, because we were spending like 10 minutes. If this was like a real life conversation, this would be like 10 minutes of dead space, just like looking at each other like, all right, where are we going with this? Fucking, what do you call it? So the topic that I had today was actually something that I was looking into on Reddit this morning. I was just reading through this post on our teenagers. Okay, I don't know if you've ever been to that subreddit.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay. So our teenagers broke down all the people by their age on the subreddit, and basically anyone over the age of 19 is old, technically.
Banned.
Like, yeah, banned. Like you can't. Yeah, and so apparently a wide majority of that of the people on there is 15 to 16, which makes sense. It's our teenagers, and then just around that age group. And then as I was like reading more and more into it, I started noticing this trend of people like putting a lot of their like information out there and not like being okay with it. Like 15 to 16-year-olds being emboldened to like put more of their information out there. And you can see it in TikToks, which I don't know if you like watched any kind of TikTok videos or anything.
I've seen some TikTok videos.
Yeah, I don't TikTok myself. Although like if I was in high school and TikTok came out, I would have fucking done that shit. It seems really fun to just lip sync shit because it's like harmless, like
it's
stupid
more than
fun,
that now. It's like Vine anymore, you know?
It's like Vine, yeah, for sure. It's definitely like Vine. But yeah, no, it's interesting because watching TikToks, it gives you a glimpse into people's lives, their real names, who they are, their memes and everything. And it brought up this like idea in my head how privacy has pretty much fucking died with that generation, right? In a lot of ways, because when I remember me being 15 and all my friends at that time, we never gave our full name out on the internet. We never put our faces on the internet. Like we didn't want like our information being on there because I think the generation before us scared us like, yo, don't put like incriminating shit on the fucking internet. And it makes sense like why they warned us, right? Because, you know, you have the risk obviously of like predators, although that's a lot smaller than the fact that like now everyone in the fucking world can just access, you know, like everything about you, right? And that's the scariest shit. And I don't know, like this privacy debate has been going on for a very long time in the country. And it's really interesting to see how blatantly open people are to sharing things, not from any other generation, but the one coming in. And I'm thinking the generation coming after them is going to like not have any privacy at all at that point. And that's going to be like the breaking point, I feel like, when it comes to like the privacy debate, right? Because the whole generation is growing up under these like this new way of like interacting. But I kind of wanted to get your take on it. Like, how do you feel about privacy in general as like a basic human right for a person?
I mean, yeah, I think you have a right to privacy, but I think you're kind of signing away that right when you use services like Facebook or Instagram or whatever, because it's like, yeah, you have a right to privacy, but if you're putting something out on the internet, it's not, you know, you're giving up that right in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, sure. I think it's not like these people are being forced to hand over their information, right? They're making a conscious choice to say, hey, okay, this is going on the internet, which is public. Anybody can view this, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think everybody has a right to privacy. And if they don't want shit posted online, then they should have that right respected. But I don't think it's really about a right to privacy so much as it is just people being willingly open to sharing their lives and their information online. And I think it might go back to the fact that, you know, these people who are in high school right now, they were born after like the year 2000, right? Like if you're born in 2000, you're going to be turning 20 this year. So it's like they've grown up with a cell phone in their hand, essentially. Every single day, every year of their life has been documented. You know, when we were kids and we were growing up, like if our family wanted to document something, they'd have to bust out like a fucking tape recorder, like a big old, I don't even know, I have video camera, you know, put it on your shoulder and put like in a VHS tape.
Right.
Or you'd have to take like a film camera. So it's like those moments of our lives, like I don't have like any video of me taking my first steps. I'm assuming you don't have any video of you taking your first steps.
No.
Like, I feel like probably everybody born after like 2005-ish, I'd say like over 50% have a video of them taking their first steps.
So I don't know. I agree with you that they've like grown up with this constant, I guess, like media, or not media, I guess what we call it, technology, right? Like this constant like evolving technology. They grew into that era. But I don't know. I think one of the things that I really don't like happening or don't want happening is in the future. We live in this dystopian fucking world where there's like facial recognition technology everywhere. All these apps that people are using, they've taken your data, they've sold it. There's no rights for the consumer to even protect their data, because how do you fucking access that shit, first of all? And second of all, how do you know who already has your information and who doesn't? You know, I think right now we live in a time when there isn't a lot of dystopian shit happening yet, right? But if you look at something like China, that's like the end game, right? That's like you can go anywhere in China and there are cameras that constantly recognize your face, has your driver's license pulled up, your family information, your blood type, everything. And that's just a fucking street camera. And that's like the most invasion of like who the fuck you are as a person, right? They just have you down to like a number. And I think that type of life and that type of like world is more imminent to happen if we let like if we don't start like actually taking back our data and like making it a citizen's right to hold on to that, and we get to choose which companies get it, which companies can't, if the government can access it or if they can't. Like, it should be in our power. It shouldn't be in someone else's. And I think the only thing that happened was that we signed away those rights in the terms of service, right? Like, every time you go to these websites, you make an account, you drop content, you signed a terms of service, which probably has it in there that you're giving away your information. But also, who the fuck reads that? Right? And that's really fucking important. They're using the fact that people are ignorant and won't read this shit to peddle their fucking laws and like different like rules that they have to like take your fucking data. And I think that needs to get stopped eventually, because I think this generation is a product of ignorance when it comes to privacy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with like probably 90% of what you're saying. I think what it comes down to is if you truly value your privacy, then get off the internet. I think that's like what it comes down to.
Is that possible anymore, dude,
I mean,
to
like,
get off the internet like in 2020?
If you value your privacy, are you gonna have a Facebook? Or are you gonna have a Twitter? Because the like Twitter by default is like a public thing. You can have a private profile, and you can have a private Instagram. You can have a private Facebook, but it's just like the whole point of those services to begin with is to share your life. So if you care about your privacy, don't sign up for those services.
Well, okay, I agree with you in that. I agree with you in that point. But although we agreed to this like information sharing service, we didn't anticipate that same service would be peddling our fucking data to other companies that now target people with like specific ads and specific things that no one actually fucking asked for. That was just something that they did on the side that no one knew about, and we weren't even willfully ignorant, just no one knew about it until people started bringing that up as a main issue. And even though it's brought up as a main issue, there's enough money and lobbyists out there in this country to just silence that, right? Like, it's not in mainstream news that, you know, data leaks are happening for more than one day because the companies are fucking buying out the station. They don't even like let people talk about it. So the average person is not informed to their right to their own privacy. They just think that this is the internet. I think the internet is a great thing. It's honestly the most effective way to communicate in the world. It changed civilization as a whole for all of humanity. But one of the drawbacks to the internet is data. And that's something that has not actually been addressed in any sort of way, I feel like, in the last like 10 years in a meaningful fashion. Like, every time it got addressed, we only found out about it after it got leaked. Right? And then even after the leak, no one got fined for that shit. And if they do get fined, it's not even a lot of money. Like, there's no accountability for people taking your data, aside from you sitting there and reading the terms of service. But then you can't use the entire fucking app, which the rest of the people use. You know what I mean? Like, they basically gate you off unless you sign off everything you fucking have about your data. You know, I don't think it should be one or the other. Like, I don't think, like, I don't know. I would love to live in a world one day where like we can have the internet without also like signing off our fucking rights to privacy, or like, I don't know, like, I wish like both of those things weren't so hand in hand, you know, but they are, I guess. That's
yeah. I mean, you bring up the point where it's like, you know, yeah, you just can't use these services, but everybody else does, right?
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I think social media I have very mixed opinions on it. I think it's great in that it allows you to stay connected to people, and see what's going on in their lives. But at the same time, I think it can be like really toxic, and I think it can like really affect you mentally because it goes into the whole, so much of it is comparing yourself to other people. And I feel like it's not always real, like the way people represent themselves isn't 100% accurate to their actual lives. Yeah. And I just feel like the thoughts that you have about these other people, like none of it's real, like if you actually care about these people, like how many times, I mean, we're pretty young, right? So we don't have people from like our high school, like just hit us up on Facebook that we haven't talked to for like 10 years or whatever. Maybe you do. Yeah. But I mean, like my mom will have somebody who she's like, oh yeah, I had like this person from college add me. We hadn't talked for like 20 years. And it's like, if you haven't talked for 20 years, are you really friends? Like, I just feel like maintaining a relationship through social media is just fake. And if you actually care about the people, you're going to maintain a relationship outside of just social media and just liking and commenting on each other's posts. Like a phone call is more real than any of that shit.
No, there's some fake phone calls, bro. There's some fake fucking. I think in your mother's situation, I can totally understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, though, I don't know. I feel like it depends, like which generation is using social media. Like I think in your mother's generation, in our parents' generation, it makes more sense, like for them to get connected through that with their old friends, because oftentimes, like when they were kids, communication was probably really hard because your mom either might have left to a different place or her friend might have left to somewhere else, and back then it wasn't as easy to communicate as it is now, when it comes to social media. And so maybe they're just kind of like learning about the technology. They saw each other's names and now they're communicating in a way. Like I can understand that, but the perspective that I have is really optimistic that that's what it is. You know what I mean? When it comes to like contacting someone again. I don't know if that applies to the situation, but I don't know. I can see how that's a thing. I don't know.
I just believe that sometimes people are meant to fall out of touch with each other. I feel like you can't have everybody in your life for your entire life. Like it's just not meant to be that way. I feel like, I go to college and I see so many people on their phone who are like freshmen and they don't talk to the people around them. They're texting their old high school friends. Like people don't move on and meet new people because they don't have to. Like you're so connected to everybody all the time that you're not forced to do something new. Like back in the day, you'd go to college and if your friends didn't go with you, I'm just saying back in the day, 30 years ago, you go to college, you're not going to be talking to your friends from high school for months, unless you're sending each other fucking letters or calling each other on the phone. You have to actually go out and live your life. And I feel like putting yourself in that kind of position where you don't have all these familiar people to fall back on, I feel like that helps you grow as a person. And I feel like when you're so connected and there's always somebody you can rely on, I feel like that kind of slows that process, in my opinion.
That's true. No, I agree with you 100%. I was just saying, back in the day, because we're pretty young. So for us to say back in the day is pretty funny considering we're only
when I say
about
back
people.
in the day, I'm not saying back in my day. I'm saying back in the day,
Yeah. I know. I get you. You're completely right about that. I think a large portion like a good example actually of this whole thing is actually a World of Warcraft example. And really quick summary of this example, because I don't want to get too deep, but basically in retail WoW versus classic WoW, right? In retail, they basically streamlined you being able to get into a raid by just clicking one button. It automatically puts you in a group. They streamlined getting into a dungeon with one click, automatically puts you in a group. And then they streamlined pretty much the whole game. You don't actually have to interact with anyone in the game to do anything, right? And so when you do get into groups, you don't even talk to people. You just kind of get in, do your thing, and leave. It's like a very sanitized process of interaction with another person. And then if you look at classic WoW, it's like completely the different world. And that game came out 15 years prior. So retail is like the evolution of it. The original version of it was that you had to go and talk to people in a general chat to ask people to see if anyone wants to come run something with you. You can't just press a button and join a group. You have to create the group. You have to form the group, right? And this forces you to interact with people. This forces you to meet new people, and you make new connections, and you join guilds, and it really feels like a community when you do find the people. And I think the same thing can be applied to real life. I think when you give people, when you ease the access that people have to each other, I think it, you get the same situation where people just stop, I guess, meeting new people or wanting to put effort into that, because they can just build all these connections way more easily with one press of a button.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things I've been noticing too.
Yeah, so I mean, I know that's not necessarily related to privacy and that sort of thing. I just think that I just feel like the thought that everybody's using these services, so we shouldn't have to give up our privacy to use them. But I mean, that's kind of the whole point of the service.
Right.
Like you're basically broadcasting your life. That's the reason you're signing up for Twitter or Instagram or TikTok. Like, that's the whole point.
Well, okay, I agree with you that that's the whole point, but I think there's a level of deceit that's being created from the creator of that app. I think you're right in that the purpose is you get to broadcast your whole life. But notice how, like, on websites like YouTube, for example, or even Twitter, there's a lot of fake accounts, and there's accounts of people who don't actually always put their real name on there, and they like create different usernames, right? It's just the internet in general. So in a lot of ways, yeah, you're going to these websites to broadcast how you feel, but how you feel comes with the caveat that you get to be anonymous and you don't get to be identified. And that's how the internet is at present time on 2020. We don't know how this is going to go down later on when privacy becomes more of an issue. But right now, everyone's anonymous, so you can say whatever you want. I think the deceit is that these same companies, they're not being honest with how they're treating your data. So yeah, you can come in and share your thoughts. That's the point of the platform. But now they also get this added cherry on top of having your data information, and they can sell that to whoever the fuck they want. They're profiting off of something that we have never seen as a commodity, as a consumer. Because before the internet, when did we care about our privacy? You know what I mean? When did we care about any of that shit, right? It was more so the fact that once the internet came and social media came in, people are now starting to worry about privacy because people are selling information left and right. I think now we're starting to realize it's a commodity, but I think that's where they're getting you. They're like, yeah, come share your thoughts, but now we get to share your data. And I don't know. I guess mainly what I'm trying to get at is I think our data needs to be privatized to the person who the data belongs to. It shouldn't just by default go to whatever website you make content for. It
doesn't by default. It goes when you sign up for the website. Like, I just remember when I was raised, I was just always told, if it's on the internet, anybody can see it. Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, what are you concerned about? Like, what data are you like, that's my data, they shouldn't sell that, because you're literally using their platform.
So the thing with data for me, the reason why I think it's really important is because data is such a catch-all phrase. But I think if you really look at your data as a person, you'll find that there's a lot of very, I guess, private things in there. Like your data not only has you as a human being, it tracks like everything about you, your eye color, your hair color, all those things are the basic information. But it also
I don't think they're really getting that off my Twitter or whatever,
None of that stuff, but I'm just saying in general. Like if you look at like data as like I'm talking about, like, I'm not talking about Twitter data or anything like that. I'm just talking about like data in general, right?
Okay.
Like your data starts with who you are as like a human, like your human characteristics, but it doesn't just end there. It keeps going into the different interests that you have in life. The different things that you say are being recorded on your phone. They actually have proof that Apple is actively recording even when you tell it not to record. It records your voice. We don't know what they're doing with all this information. It could be fed into like a machine learning program or an AI to like understand how people work and think. But one of the craziest things is, because it doesn't just end at your physical characteristics, they now have your mental characteristics. They know what you look up, they know what you like, and they know how to target ads. So any company out there that is, so say for example, like, you say, I want portobello mushrooms on my burger. Portobello mushrooms would be great. You're going to see that as an ad on Google or whatever the fuck next time you go on Amazon and search, right? So this is a direct correlation that your data has been breached. They're just taking that information, selling it to everyone else. Now these companies can brainwash you into buying their shit. And I'm saying brainwash not in the literal sense. I'm not saying like they're working actively to like target Dylan Berry, you know, to get you to buy portobello mushrooms. But the point I'm making is that like now it's like a mass, it's like a market for someone's mental processes and thoughts for them to sell products. And I think that's not something anyone consented for. And that's not something that anyone knew was happening until recently. And I think that's not even something people cared about. And I don't even think people care about that today. Like, I don't think people realize the gravity of how important it is to own your data and to have that sort of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just explain the gravity then, because in my opinion, I literally do not care about targeted ads. I would rather see 100 targeted ads than 100 that are completely irrelevant to me. If I've been looking something up on the internet and I get an ad for it, it's like, cool, maybe I'll check that out. But it's like, I don't buy stuff very often.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm so, what's the word I'm looking for? Immune to advertising. Obviously, I know that's not true, but I just feel like ads are not that effective, because for me, I know what I want, and then I'm going to go to the specific store that I want to get that from, the specific company that I want to support, and I'll buy it from them. Like, an ad isn't really going to sway me to go to something else.
Okay, so this is actually perfect because I saved this post about a month ago on Reddit where a guy like talks exactly about privacy and why it's so important. So look, I'll just read an excerpt from it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want to like give my interpretation of this yet. I just want to like kind of get it out there.
The expert's opinion.
So look, so basically, let's start here. Tech companies like Facebook and Google make their money by advertising to you. More specifically, they make money when you click on ads. Because of this, they are put under pressure to show you ads that you're more likely to click on. They do this by trying to get to know you, collecting this like age, race, location, financial information, gender, and much more. They have over like 900 data points. The number is ambiguous. Facebook and Google aren't really saying. So, you know, the numbers are flying around 29,000 different metrics that they're using to like track data on you. So using this data, they can tailor ads to you. Like, are black women more likely to click on ads that feature water? Are men aged 18 to 24 more likely to click on ads if the background of the ad is purple, right? And so different information like that. And this is how they start marketing. So one of the things is overall, they get this data because they don't just collect information from their own site. Looking at Facebook when you visit a web page, many will have a like and share to Facebook button. Websites are enticed to add these buttons because it increases their online presence. But not only does it drive people to their Facebook site, but if you're logged into Facebook, the like button registers that you visited that page. That's one thing if you're looking at a recipe for cookies, but the next time you're in an incognito tab, look for the like button. And Google does the same thing. Amazon does the same thing. And overall, these companies are not just taking what you give them. They're watching where you go. Google Maps sends location data back to Google even when you're not using the app and have location services turned off. Watching what you browse and building a profile on you to convince you to spend more money. In short, they've removed the ability to choose because they want your clicks. When applied to politics, this becomes more interesting. Cambridge Analytica was hired in Trinidad and Tobago's election, and they started a campaign that convinced part of the country's population to boycott the election, causing the party that hired Cambridge Analytica to win in the first place. This entire business is to convince people to do what they don't want to do. And that, reading that and like researching more into how they're implementing the data, that made me realize that your personal data is very fucking important, because it might not seem like much that the portobello mushroom example, that they just target you for it. But the gravity of the situation is that they're using it for much bigger fucking things on a political scale, on a more marketing scale, just to remove your ability to even choose anything anymore. They'll just give everything to you, you know?
Well, I agree that like political ads should not be on social media for those reasons, right? But I honestly couldn't care less about targeted ads. if Facebook is tracking me, like, why does that matter to me, right? Like, what difference does that make to me if they're showing me something that I'm more likely to buy? Like, maybe I just have control over my spending habits. I have like a fucking budget that I adhere to every month. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not just gonna buy something because it's thrown in front of me. I'm gonna look at it and say, do I actually want this? Do I actually need this? Can I afford this? I'm not just like, people aren't brain dead. You can't, I just feel like you can't just blame advertisements and say, well, I had to buy it because it was advertised to me. Advertising has been a thing forever. And like it's like, sure, it's targeted now, but it's always been targeted towards somebody.
Right. Well, okay, so I agree with you in that if you have the wherewithal to go, like I'm not gonna buy whatever the fuck the first thing that comes to me is, right? If you have that like a bit like you were saying, like you have this like spending budget and everything, that's great. And then but you also mentioned that not everyone is brain dead, like they're not just gonna buy the first thing that jumps at them. And I think that's where it becomes kind of I don't know. That's where it becomes kind of weird because a lot of people do fall for this kind of stuff. I think a big thing is when you see a product enough, when you see, like for a good example is YouTube, actually. I don't know if this applies to you because like you were saying, you have the wherewithal to like just know how to spend your time, how not to spend your time. But you might have fallen for this sometimes, but you'll occasionally see on YouTube the same video pops up in your recommended on the side and it'll keep like climbing up on like the recommended spot, right? And this will happen over time, like over a couple of days. You'll watch a video, something else unrelated, and then this video will be on the side. You'll see the thumbnail, you'll see the title, you won't click on it though, right? The next day the same thing happens. And the next time you use YouTube, the same thing happens. Eventually, some people click on the video because they're like, why is this always being recommended? Why is this always here? You might not, but a lot of people do, and those videos end up, fucking trending or, just becoming really popular. And that's a great example of what they do for marketing, right? You might not want portobello mushrooms even after saying it because like I'm not going to spend this money. But someone
Right.
someone who gets that ad repeatedly, they might be more susceptible to making that purchase because they've just seen it so much and they're like, all right, fuck it, I'm just going to buy it and make a meal out of this and include this into whatever I'm doing. But even that one small purchase of the mushroom is a big win for the people exploiting your data versus you who has zero control or idea
It's
of
a big
how
win
to
for you
even,
too, because you wanted
you
it.
know
You bought
at
it.
one point, but you wanted it. But here's the thing, you wanted it, but in a way they've almost kind of brainwashed you into wanting it even more, into actually making the purchase, whereas people that want something don't always end up going for it. They end up changing their mind later on. I think they remove that changing your mind part by constantly putting it in your face. And for some people, I'm not saying for you or, but I'm saying like there are people out there that do fall for that. And there's a lot of people who are susceptible to that level of marketing. And that's the same people that are susceptible to the political marketing that they do with the data. And that's how the Trinidad and Tobago thing happened. And not only there, but it happens all over the world. Like, do you remember when Trump first won presidency, that the whole scandal came out about how the Russians helped him rig the elections or some shit? And then so once that popped off, if you like just saw the temperature of Reddit and Twitter at the time, there were so many fake, like legitimately fake accounts. Like you can tell which ones are fake. The fakes have gotten better nowadays, but there's a lot of fake fucking accounts, and they would all spam the same shit, and they would spam like anti-vax posts, and these are bot accounts posting on Facebook, and mothers would actually buy into it. That was a real, remember the anti-vax thing? Like that actually fucking
It's
people,
still a
like
thing,
real
dude.
people. Yeah, it's still a thing, but more so back then, like that was more so in people's like attention. People were really talking about it because people do fall for this type of shit, and it all starts with them getting your data. When they have your data, they know that you're susceptible to this type of marketing, this type of influence. They're going to fucking hammer you with that content. And if you're not prepared for it, which no one is because you don't have access to your data, you don't know that this is coming, then you either have to be mentally prepped to deal with this or you're just going to get lost in whatever marketing that they throw at you. And I think that's what the danger is, So I think that's the gravity of it. That's like the bigger picture if you were to look at it,
I mean, I think that a lot of it just comes down to people like lacking critical thinking skills. And I'm not saying that I'm like the most critical thinker of all time, right? But like when it comes down to like those advertisements, like the political ads and that sort of thing, or like the anti-vax ads, it's like it's just educating yourself on the issues and like just not falling for the first thing you see. So, I mean, I am for privacy. I think that there does need to be something done. I've been playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, you know, just trying to get a conversation going.
Yeah.
So like, I think like facial recognition, I think that's kind of fucked up because it's like I don't want the government or anybody, because like you can draw a comparison between the same thing, right? Because say facial recognition is only being used by advertisers, right?
Right.
Like they're literally tracking your location, using your face and like the stores that you go into and that sort of thing. And it's like, how is that really any different than what Google's doing, right? By using Google Maps, or what Facebook is doing by seeing where you've been on the internet. So it's like, yeah, there's definitely that invasion of privacy, and I think that we should have that. But I also think that at the same time, I feel a lot of people talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, that's fucked up that Facebook is stealing my information or Google's stealing my information, but they don't stop using the services. Like, if that's how you really feel, I know Facebook has lost a lot of users.
Yeah.
But it's like, you need to actually put forward some actions, you know, and be like, you know what, this is what I believe in, and I'm going to stand for this. And sure, it may be less convenient for me not to have access to these services, but I value my privacy. And then if enough people do that, if people stand up to the companies and say, we're not going to use your product as long as these features are in it.
Yeah.
If enough people did that, then the company is going to have to change their business model because they're not going to make any money.
Right.
So, I mean, it just comes down to actually standing up for what you believe in and not just falling victim to, oh, I mean, everybody's using it and I just have to because it's convenient for me, you know?
No, I agree. I think that's actually a really big thing. Yeah, that's huge. I was gonna say, like, earlier on, when it comes to you talking about like critical thinking skills and people just not having that when it comes to like some of the information they consume. I think a big thing is there's a generational gap, right? Like even earlier on, we're talking about how your mother's friend kind of contacted her after so many years, and I was looking at it like an innocent exchange because their age is, you know, probably pretty high, so like they view it differently, and I think that even. It even applies for this, because if you really think about it, you know, a lot of the people that consume this kind of bullshit content is older people, like people that are in their like, you know, 40s and 50s, and it's people who have little kids and people who are in the family setting. A lot of them follow it because throughout their, like, I think that's another thing. Older people are more susceptible because, again, you know, that's a data point.
They didn't grow up with it.
They didn't grow up with it as one, so they're unfamiliar. But two, it's a data point for a lot of marketing companies when they realize that, like, okay, this group of people, they are more susceptible to this type of marketing and this type of influence because they just didn't have the experience. And, you know, they probably have multiple different things about that person to lump them into that box. Like, okay, market this bullshit to them because we know they're going to buy into this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely a big thing too. Again, this is another concern for privacy as a whole. That's why I was talking about how important data is, because it's not just you, right? It's like everyone. You know, everyone gets affected by this shit. It's like a really big global issue. Something I also wanted to talk about was, you know how back in the day we wanted a separation from church and state?
Back in the day, we don't want that anymore. Is that what you're saying?
I think church is dead now, and who gives a fuck about religion? But I think the new thing...
That's the thing. Church is not dead, and a lot of people give a fuck about religion.
Okay, maybe I'm just like out of the loop for religious things. You live in
you're
Utah.
You're talking from
to?
Like a West Coast
right
millennial.
No, I'm talking about like a tech perspective, like a West Coast tech, like a technology. I'm thinking the new church is tech companies. It seems like for the most part. I was gonna say, like, I think just like separation of church and state, we need a separation of government and state. Or sorry, not government and state. We need a separation of corporation and state. I think that needs to start happening. Because this data that all these companies have, because it's hard, dude. You were saying earlier, like, just leave Google. Just leave Google. Fuck it, dude. It's hard. It's fucking hard. Google's fucking everywhere. It's fucking they've been ingrained. We didn't know they were evil.
Government's not going to make any laws about that shit because they're being paid off. So
exactly, these lobbyist motherfuckers, man. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think I think the most radical change that can ever happen in this country that I think will probably happen sooner rather than later, because we'll start. I think Americans are the one population of people that are armed for the most part, right? Most people in America, like they value their
armed?
privacy, like armed as in like they value their ability to be able to hold a weapon in their house. They buy guns and shit. You know what I mean?
I feel like Americans are like the most ignorant people.
That's also fucking true.
I feel like we're so caught up in all this bullshit that doesn't matter that we don't even stop and think about the things that do. We don't care. It doesn't cross our minds. It's like, how does that really affect me? You know?
Right. It's hard to fight that ignorance until they do get affected. But by that
there needs
point,
to
it's
just
too
be
late.
a huge like societal shift. Like people need to start actually looking at the politicians and not just what they're saying, but what they're actually voting for or what they're voting against. Like you need to look at these records that people have and say, is this somebody that is actually representing me, or is this somebody that's representing whoever's paying their bills? You know. So I think there just needs to be a big shift in that sort of mentality. I think we're actually coming around to that, but I think it's the younger generations that are waking up to that sort of thing, because we've been hit by the shit, like the recession in 2008 affected our generation. It didn't affect the boomers as much. Like obviously affected everybody, but like we had millions of people graduating college and not being able to find a job. Something that they were been told their whole lives, you go get your degree and you'll get a good paying job. And it's like they come out of college and there's no jobs. You got a 4-year degree, you're working for minimum wage, you can't afford to buy a house, you got $40,000 in student loans. So it's like, I think our generation is much more aware of that kind of shit. And I think there will be a change. I think it's just going to take a while. Like any major change like that takes time.
Oh yeah, it takes huge time, especially the point where we're at, where corporations are so fucking ingrained into everything, and we're also dealing with like privacy and a bunch of other shit too. Like, yeah, it's definitely one of those things.
Definitely one of those things.
But
we are now at a point in the podcast where we're going to pivot to a segment that you asked for and we have listened. Am I the asshole?
Let's go. Let's go.
We had one person comment and say, hey, I think you guys should bring this back. And you know what? We're going to do it. So
dude,
I got one. I pulled one up already, and I'll let you see it. Go ahead and say what you got.
I love it when you say let's pivot, because I'm just like, this is the best. This is the transitions we've been waiting for in 2020.
The transitions. So we got a great topic here. When I looked it up, it was posted 20 minutes ago, and there's a lot more comments now. But we're still gonna give our take.
Title I've ever seen for Am I the Asshole in the World, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah. So the title of this one is Am I the Asshole for Taking My Niece to a Strip Club?
Jesus Christ.
So right out the bat, I mean, what's your first, when you see that, what's your first thought? If you had to give them an asshole or not the asshole right off the bat, what do you say?
Fucking asshole, dude. Fucking asshole. Like, I don't... Fucking asshole. Because there's just so many things wrong with that, man. Fuck. He's an asshole. Off rip, but we should probably read it.
I think for me, the first thing I think of, this is fucking creepy.
Yeah.
This is kind of weird, dude.
It's some grooming type shit. Oh, you see how they fucking shake their ass? That's how you're going to be shaking your ass. It's like some weird fucking... In the post, they don't mention the it says their niece, but you don't know if it's their aunt or their uncle. It doesn't explain that. My niece, the daughter of my much older sister.
Yeah. So I'm assuming this person is a man. That's just the impression that I'm getting.
Women don't really go to strip clubs, do they? I don't know. I don't fucking know.
I mean, there are like strip clubs for women, but they're not like as prevalent, right?
Oh, this whole situation could be different. So, like, if this was the male strip, see, that's the weird, like, we'll get to this later podcast, okay, the men versus women inequality. All right, anyways, all right.
All right, so I'm just going to give a quick overview of what's going on here. So, basically, you've got this person. I'm assuming it's a man, okay? So, their niece is in town, and they were going to go to some convention. The niece was going to a convention. So they said, you know what, you can stay with me at my place for the weekend because you're in town. It'll be fun. We can hang out. And the girl had just turned 19 or 18. And so they go downtown and they're eating at a restaurant. And the person, the aunt or uncle, I'm just going to assume uncle, is joked about all the strip clubs in the area, which is a kind of a weird thing to joke about with your 18-year-old niece, to be honest. Yeah. In my opinion, I'm not going to judge people's relationships because some people, just have a relationship like that. But if I'm somebody's uncle, I'm not really going to be joking about strip clubs. So anyway, the girl came out as a lesbian the previous year. And he talks about how she went to prom with a girl or whatever. Who cares? And he points out that some of the clubs are 18 plus and they don't serve alcohol, so she could actually go. And I guess the girl was kind of interested, or she just thought it was interesting that she could go. So they went, and it says, I could tell she was nervous going in, but settled down once we got there. And then it gets into how she got a private lap dance, and the strippers told her that she was allowed to touch them.
Oh, God.
And here's a sentence that I find very creepy. When we left, I could tell she was feeling euphoric and turned on to a degree she had never been before.
I like that. I like that sentence. That's a good. I like that sentence.
You like that?
There's so much wrong with it, but so much I don't know. God. There's just a lot going on in that sentence. That's a good sentence. Just to end the rest of the things off with. I love that he said that.
So his niece goes back, and his sister finds out, and she's like, "Hey, is this true?" And he's like, "Yeah, but it was all legal, and she's an adult now. That she's 18, so she can make her own decisions." And his sister, which is the girl's mother, says that's not why she sent her daughter to his place. And he says, I explained it was just a side thing. And just once again, that her daughter's an adult. Thing. So was I the asshole seeing out she's an adult and I wasn't babysitting? I see it no different than if I went with a friend from out of town.
Okay, so my opinion on this is a little mixed now that I read that. Because I thought it was some weirdo, like he just took his like straight fucking 18-year-old niece to a strip club. I thought it was some weirdo shit. It's a little mixed now because I feel like, okay, so here's the thing. A part of me is like, I feel like he should have never done it because she came for a fucking convention. I think a more appropriate thing would be as an uncle is to not go to a strip club or fuck with your niece's sexuality, whatever the fuck it might be. I think a better thing would have take her out to like some ice cream, show her some sights nearby. You know what I mean? Do like the typical like let's hang out for a day type shit, right?
Right. You're my niece.
You're my fucking niece. I'm your uncle. Like let's, you know what I mean? Like this is purely platonic. Let's go do shit outside. We don't have to go to a strip club. But at the same time, I can see how on the other hand of it, if the uncle and the niece are super close, right, and she shares all this information with him, like, yeah, I came out as lesbian and I took a prom date who's a girl and I'm really into this like lesbian lifestyle and she just turned 18. I can see how on the uncle's end, if they were close, he would think this is like a bonding experience because it's not anything sexual on his end. It's more so him just providing her like a sexual like view of like women, I guess. And it looks like she didn't drink anything either. It looks like there's no drugs involved. And for the most part, it looks like she just went in there and got wet from all the strippers like giving her attention, you know, which isn't any different than like you said, like go with a friend who just he gets fucking hard from a stripper dancing on him. It's like to him it's the same thing. I don't know. It's kind of mixed. Like I can see like both sides of it. I'm not sure like if I should give this guy the asshole or not though. Because the sister doesn't matter to me. She's not involved in this, you know, considering the girl's an adult. But
you say the girl's an adult, but she just turned 18. Okay, so what's the difference? In your opinion, is it wrong if it was a week ago and she was 17?
Oh, that's true. The age thing is kind of bullshit because, yeah, there's no real difference between 18 and 21 I think the whole
I'm an adult at 18 thing, I think that's such bullshit.
Yeah.
I think that is such bullshit.
Yeah.
I think when you're 18, you're no more mature when you're 18 than when you're 17. You know, like
No.
it's such an arbitrary number to decide. Like, why is that when we decide you're an adult and you can go fucking die in a war? You know, I think that's dumb to begin with. So I think that his argument that she's an adult now, she can make her own decisions, I think that's fucking dumb. Because
you shouldn't have said that.
18-year-olds don't have the best track record when it comes to making good decisions, right?
Plus, your fucking sister found out you took her daughter to a fucking strip club.
Right.
The last thing you should
It's
be
just
mentioning
weird.
is she's 18. Like,
is it wrong? Is he an asshole? I don't necessarily think so, but I think it's weird. I think it's pretty strange that if you're going to a strip club...
What weird you out about this?
Because you're going to a strip club with your niece.
But she's lesbian, so it's like a dude pretty much. I'm not gonna say it's like a dude pretty much.
Weird.
Is that weird? Okay.
I mean, like you're an uncle, aren't you supposed to be like kind of like a role model? And it's not like to say like, oh, strip clubs are like bad and you should stay away. But it's just like, to me, that's not like uncle behavior. It's just weird. Like you're going to a strip club and it says that she was turned on to a degree, and it's just like, why do you want to be around your niece like that? That's just weird.
When she's turned on to a degree
That's
she's
weird.
never been before.
That's just, I don't understand that.
You finding it weird is fucking hilarious to me because
is that not weird?
Okay, well, it's something that I don't know, because I don't know like to what degree of relationship this dude has with his niece. Like if because I could imagine them being just cool as fuck with each other, and it's like a really like adult, not adult. I keep saying adult. What I mean is like it's a really matured like relationship between the uncle and the niece, to the point where like they can talk about this kind of stuff openly with each other and they're like really cool about it. I could see how a strip club would be like, oh, that's the cool uncle move as like an 18-year-old, right? Oh, he's taking me into a strip club. I don't know. It's weird in that he decided a strip club was the way to go with his niece, but at the same time, I don't know. I could see why he did it, but why he did it is, it is weird. Actually, I take everything back, because why he shouldn't have done it in the first place. I don't know why the fuck he took her to a strip club.
It states that she's still in high school, right? And it's like, she's 18, but that means she's living at home still. And it says that she just came out as a lesbian last year. So like, I feel like I'm straight. I've never had to go through that sort of thing, but I'm imagining that it could be pretty confusing and difficult. And there's like a lot of coming to terms.
Not in 2020, man. If you're not gay in
you don't
2020,
you don't know where they're
really
from.
Living life? Are you really living life if you're not gay in 2020? Everyone is gay in 2020.
I'm just saying. I think it's a difficult time for a lot of people because they're trying to figure out like who they are and everything.
Right,
I don't necessarily think that taking somebody to a strip club is like the best way to like help them with that. Like, I think you can have a conversation about it and like discuss things and that sort of thing. But I feel like that's just gonna like just throw somebody in the deep end of being like, yeah, here's some fucking naked women. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's very strange to me.
No, it is strange for sure.
I'm gonna see what the comments say, because I just feel like, in my opinion, I don't know, man. What are you saying right now? Are you saying this guy's an asshole or not?
No, he's not an asshole, because an asshole to me represents like someone who like purposefully like said or did some like fucking harmful, like just stupid shit. But I don't think he did that. I think he's a weirdo, but that doesn't, being weird isn't necessarily an asshole. Like I think those are two different things. Like he was definitely a fucking weirdo for doing this, but he's not an asshole.
I think he's kind of a weird asshole.
A weird asshole. Yeah, maybe, actually. Yeah. Well, okay, what about this makes him an asshole to you, though?
Well, I just feel like it's like one of those things where it's just like, oh, we're going to do this, but don't tell your mom. You know, it's like, it feels like he's wanting to go behind her mom's back about the situation. And like,
wait. He never mentioned that he told the niece not to tell the mom, right?
Right. But he implies by saying, well, now my sister found out somehow and asked me if it was true. So it's implied that he didn't tell her, or he wasn't going to tell her.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because he wasn't going to call up the sister before they went to the strip club and was like, yo, can I take your daughter to a fucking strip club? Like,
and I mean, it's true that she is 18, right? Or if
no,
she's
it's not.
17.
That's bullshit. We debunked the 18-year-olds.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that whether you're 16, 17, 18, you still have the ability to make decisions, right? And I don't necessarily believe that like, oh, you're 16 and you live with your parents, they should control every aspect of your life, right? I think that you should have the freedom at that age to start making decisions for yourself. But in this situation, I feel like there's a difference between making like certain decisions for yourself and then going to a strip club with your uncle. Like, it's kind of weird. Maybe there's like some sort of like,
there's a degree of separation.
You know, it kind of sounds like maybe there's almost pressure to go because he's joking about it. And then he's like, oh, you know, we could actually go because they don't serve alcohol. And it's just like,
euphoric
I don't know.
and turned on to a degree she'd never been before.
The whole thing just comes off as creepy and weird to me. I got to read some of the comments. I got to see what people are saying.
First comment is that it's a shit post.
So I joined the thing here early, so my comments aren't refreshed. But the first comment really just puts it right where it should be. This guy says, I can't deny going to a strip club with a family member is a little bit weird, irrespective of your gender. But seriously, highlighted by you mentioning her getting turned on. I can see why your sister's mad, and there's nothing asshole-ish about taking a consenting and legal adult to a strip club. It's just quite creepy when it's your niece.
Right. I think to be honest, dude, like, I don't know, when it comes to my nieces, even if they get older, I'm always gonna look at them like they're the little girls that I like initially fucking saw, and I'm never gonna put them in any position where like they could be harmed or compromised. Even when it comes to like, I know strip club is none of those two things, harmful or compromising, but I just don't want to. That's not a bonding activity in my view. That's not a good. Even if my boys come over, I'm not gonna be like, "Yo, let's go to a strip club. Let's go." Because like a strip club, you don't go to a strip club with just anybody. Like you have to go. It's like a mood. Like you got to either be drunk as shit or with like the wrong people in life, and then that's when you go to a strip club. But like other than that, there's no reason to be in there, you know, at all. Like there's so many other ways to I don't know, to do anything. Like you don't have to like use that as like a fucking thing to go to.
It's just
I changed my mind. He's an asshole. He shouldn't have.
All right, so I'm gonna leave a comment on this guy, even if it is a shit post. I don't care. We got to leave a comment. That's what this is all about. You, the asshole.
Plus, people are saying he's not the asshole because she's an adult. But then I realized how retarded that. I can't say the word. Fucking. I realized how dumb I hate censoring myself. I hate how retarded the 18-year-old shit is, dude. I honestly hate that shit. I hate the fact that people at 18 are considered adults because there are so many people in this world who are in their fucking actual like 20s and 30s and 40s who are still mentally fucking children who just do not know how the fuck to function in the world. Like that's a real thing. So like,
I mean, we've talked about it before with like student loans, right? How it's almost predatory because you're loaning $20,000-$30,000 to these kids who are 18 who don't really know what that really means, you know?
I think the people that created the law for 18, people saying that 18 is the age when you're an adult, I think they pretty much understood that that's the perfect age to exploit an American citizen. And they were like, all right, we're going for 18.
I think they decided that so long ago that when you were 18, you actually were an adult, you know, like back in the day.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
People did way more at 18.
Yo, that's so true. Because at 18 then, you probably won't live past fucking 30. So 18 is like half your fucking life. I feel like you are an adult.
I think you're kind of off on the numbers.
Yeah, I remember reading some shit like back in the day, like
when you say back in the day, what do you mean?
Like whenever I'm thinking like they made these laws like back in
the
Abraham
laws
Lincoln
probably like
times.
No, I'm thinking like way back, early 1900s maybe.
Is that when I don't even know when these laws came into power. Like,
I don't know.
I'm thinking they came.
I'm gonna Google it.
Mr. Washington came through like, yo, I'm a fucking free y'all. You know what I'm saying? And then he just like made that the age. I don't know. I just remember reading.
Let's see.
What were you gonna say?
It says 1971, 21 was the minimum voting age.
Okay.
And it was turned to 18. I don't know what the status on this is. But like, 100 years ago, 18, you had way more responsibilities at 18 than you do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Honestly, every time I think about the US government, I just like look at everything they pass, all the laws, And I always try to like find a way that they're using that law to exploit motherfuckers. Cause that's how I view everything nowadays when it comes to shit like this. So like when I see like the 18-year-old thing, I'm like the first thought in my mind is that's the perfect age to get these motherfuckers into the army. That's a perfect age to strap them with lifelong debt. Cause they're not going to know any fucking better. You know what I mean?
They're not going to know any best. Peak physical, that's their physical prime, you know, from like 20 to 25. Got to get them
early. Get them when they're early. And they're expendable, you know, because everyone turns 18 at one point. So, you know what I mean? Send them out. Like, you guys are just cannon fodder, man. That's what the forgotten generation was. They were just cannon fodder for the next generation of war people. Anyways, yeah.
So this dude's an asshole. We've decided that if you want to check
weird
out...
asshole.
A weird asshole. If you want to check out our post, you know, check us out on Reddit. RNG Podcast is our username. We're going to be doing this probably every week or every other week. You know, we'll toss it in. I'll add another one that was like kind of more lighthearted and I thought was funnier. But we'll have to touch on that some other time because we are out of time. Before we go, I did want to recommend a YouTube video because I know we talked at one point about you know, if we have something that we want to share, some form of media that we think is good,
like
we should let the people know. Yeah. So this is a sleeper pick. This is a YouTube video. Let me search it real quick because I want to make sure I get the name right. I think this video is so funny. It's 10 years old. It's of this guy doing Dragon Ball Z impressions. Okay. So the title of the video is My Dragon Ball Z Voice Impressions by the username Draga Balls. And I've been watching a lot of DBZ lately because Kate's never seen it. And I was like, let's watch some DBZ. And she's like, I'm down. So now we're watching Super now. I'm just going to give you guys...
That's a fun bonding activity, dude. So, that's a better bonding activity than the fucking strip club. Just put on DBZ Super.
Right, exactly. But I've been working on some impressions, right? Yeah. So I was looking them up and I found this video and I thought it was so fucking funny. But I'll link it in the description. So if you guys want to check it out, go check it out. It's 2.5 minutes long.
Boost his viewership.
It's just funny.
I feel you. Okay.
So that's my recommendation for the week.
I have a sleeper pick as well.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate the Last Horse episode as my sleeper pick. It's a sleeper pick because the owner of the fucking channel and the content decided to not ever do that again. But it's fantastic. It's a little sleeper-oni, you know what I mean? And go back and revisit those days. Yeah, it's my sleeper pick.
I should also mention that I watched a lot of DBZ impression videos. And one of them has a guy that reminds me of you. But I'm going to leave that to the viewers to find.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah. I think that's all I have to say.
That's all I got to say, too.
All right,
boys. We'll see you next time. Peace.